Rolf Steiner is a German retired mercenary who began his military career as a French Foreign Legion paratrooper and saw combat in Vietnam, Egypt, and Algeria. Steiner rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel, commanding the 4th Commando Brigade in the Biafran Army during the Nigerian Civil War. Watch this video because you are going to learn something about the mercenaries that fought on the Biafran side. The year was 1967 and the Nigerian Civil War has just started. A man called Roger Farkas, who was organizing a mercenary unit for the newly independent Republic of Biafra, contacted Rolf Steiner, who was living in Paris at the time. France supported Biafra, which possessed much of Nigeria's oil and had the capacity to produce 1 million barrels of oil per day. By 1967 estimates, Biafra possessed oil reserves equal to about 1/3 of Kuwait's. French president believed that backing Biafra's secession from Nigeria would result in the French oil companies receiving the concessions to pump Biafra's oil. French documents that were declassified in 2017 confirmed what everyone has been thinking about, that is, that the French Secret Service was sponsoring mercenaries to fight for Biafra, and Steiner was one of the mercenaries that was recruited. Steiner and the man that recruited him flew to Port Harcourt via Lisbon, Portugal, and Libreville and enlisted into the Biafran army. However, Farkas and most of the 53 mercenaries soon left Biafra after leading his men in an unauthorized attack to retain the city of Calabar, which ended in disaster in October of 1967. But then, as Farkas and most of the other mercenaries left Biafra, Steiner was one of the few who chose to stay on, and he became the leader due to his seniority as a former sergeant in the French Foreign Legion. The real deal was that Farkas and most of the mercenaries that he brought into Biafra thought that they are going to meet an ill-equipped, undisciplined, and not well-trained army like they met the ones in the Congo during the Congo crisis. But when they came to Biafra and met the Nigerian army in the form of their enemies, they soon realized that the Nigerian army were a well-coordinated, well-disciplined, and well-equipped military. And very soon, they had to leave Biafra because they were afraid that this well-equipped army, that is, the Nigerian troops, will unalive them if they stay on. When they left, Steiner assumed command, and one of his first projects upon arriving in Biafra was an attempt to create a brown water navy for Biafra by converting some river boats into pew-pew boats. Following his partial navy success, Steiner also had some more successes in leading small units into action against the Nigerian federal side. And then, Steiner was given the command of the 4th Biafran Commando Brigade, which composed of about 3,000 men at the time. He assumed the rank of a lieutenant colonel. The 4th Commando Brigade was intended for irregular operations and existed outside of the regular chain of command in the Biafran army at the time of its creation. The 4th Brigade was also known as the S Brigade as it was intended for special tasks. Steiner had subordinates, and his subordinates was a mixture of adventurers consisting of one, an Italian in the name of Giorgio Nobiato, 2, the Rhodesian who was an explosive expert who was named Johnny Erasmus, 3, a Welshman in the name of Taffy Williams, 4, the Scotsman who was known as Alexander Gay and who was also known as Alec, 5, the Irishman who was known as Lewis Mulrooney, who was also called Paddy, 6, the Corsician Armand Iyaranelli, who had been able to enlist in the Foreign Legion by pretending to be an Italian, and 7, a Jamaican bartender who turned mercenary who called himself Johnny Courier. Nobiato, Erasmus, and Gay had all previously served as mercenaries fighting for Katanga in the Congo. Of Steiner's subordinates, Williams was the only one that was known for his short temper and was considered to be bulletproof because he has this ability to survive multiple wounds during that civil war. Maruni, on the other hand, was noted for his courage under fire, for the ruthless way he fought the civil war, and the tendency to walk around with a pew-pew in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. Erasmus was highly skilled in rigging up makeshift explosive devices that hindered the Nigerian advance and loved to blow up buildings and bridges. Eyaranelli was known for his steely determination to keep fighting despite the way he kept losing parts of his body. In Biafra, he was also known as Amand the Brave, a man who fought despite missing body parts and fragments of shells lodged in his body. Steiner had a few stints with his brigade at the Onitsha sector, but they were not successful, as the Nigerian 2nd Division under General Murtala Mohammed kept them at bay. They also had another stint in July of 1968 in the Owerri sector, but then they were not successful as well. They again had another stint at Port Harcourt, and there was where Steiner's Italian colleague Nobiato was unalived in action while leading a raid intended to slow down the Nigerian federal troops. In August of 1968, the 4th Commando Brigade under Rolf Steiner was involved in an extremely heavy fighting as it attempted to stop the 3rd Nigerian Marine Commando Division under the command of General Benjamin Adekunle, known as the Black Scorpion, from crossing the Imo River as the Nigerians followed up their capture of Port Harcourt. In September of 1968, the 4th Brigade under Steiner attempted to hold down the town of Aba, but was forced to retreat after running out of ammunition. In October of 1968, the Nigerian troops launched an offensive intended to take the Biafran capital of Umuahia with the aim of finishing the war. But in the course of heavy fighting, the 4th Brigade played a prominent role in halting the Nigerian offensive. And then, the fighting during Operation OAU was the most intense of the entire war and ended with the Biafrans retaking Owerri. Steiner and the 4th Commando Brigade were later assigned just outside of Onitsha in a defensive role as heavy Biafran losses were making any offensives increasingly impossible, and the Biafran president, General Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, was concerned that the Nigerians might take his ancestral hometown of Nnewi. However, on the 15th of November of 1968, Steiner ordered Operation Hiroshima with the aim of retaking Onitsha and stopping the Nigerian advance. It was in this offensive battle that the Belgian mercenary Mark Gossens was unalived, together with most of Steiner's men in a suicidal attack against a well-dug Nigerian position. By the time the offensive was abandoned on the 29th of November in 1968, over half of the 4th Commando Brigade has been unalived. After the failure of Operation Hiroshima, Steiner lapsed into a depressive state and heavy drinking, becoming paranoid as he feared that most of his men were planning to unalive him. On the 6th of December in 1968, Steiner was ordered to present himself before the president, Ojukwu, and explain his failures. Steiner showed up in the meeting very drunk and belligerent, and soon he got into a brawl with the Biafran president, Ojukwu. Ojukwu's bodyguards arrested him, and only Ojukwu himself saved Steiner from being shot on the spot, and the meeting ended with Ojukwu stripping him of command and Steiner being marched out in handcuffs. Steiner resigned from his service in the Biafran army and was arrested. And on the 10th of December 1968, Steiner was expelled from Biafra. Know your history.